Amen. And to start things off right, let's have a good luck. Hurrah! Here we go. We'll see everybody up. Join us on the dance floor. We'll all celebrate and wish them mazel tov. We'll see everybody up on the dance floor.
Kill the Jews. Kill the Jews. Kill the Jews. The order came from Rome in the year 70, when Jerusalem fell to the Roman commander Titus. Thousands died. Survivors were cast into the diaspora. Over time, the Jews who once felt safe in the land of Israel settled in Europe in what seemed like safety. Safe until the order came again. The Crusaders' cry was, "Baptism or death." Thousands of Jews died in France and Germany from the swords of the Christian Crusaders. Hebrew books were burned. Jews fled wherever they could find shelter. Many went to Spain, safe at last, until a holy war was declared against them by Spanish state and church officials. Conversion or burning at the stake was the choice for Jews caught in the Spanish Inquisition. While the Inquisition went on in Spain, in Northern Europe, the Reformation permitted further persecution of the Jews. Martin Luther proclaimed, "Burn their synagogues, destroy their homes, take away their Talmuds, kill rabbis still teaching Judaism." At the same time, a new world had been discovered, and 23 Jews were full of hope as they arrived in New Amsterdam in 1654. Peter Stuyvesant wanted to turn them away. Jews should not be allowed to infect and trouble this new colony, Stuyvesant wrote. But these original Jewish Americans were allowed to stay. However, for their own safety, they banded together, promising to protect and care for one another. The roots of the Federation movement in America were planted. By the mid-1800s, 70% of all the Jews in the world lived under Tsarist Russian rule, until a Jew was among those blamed for the assassination of Tsar Alexander II in 1881. Now, no Jew was safe in Russia. Of the pogroms, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church said, "1/3 will die, 1/3 will leave, 1/3 will dissolve into the countryside." A half-century later, in Western Europe, festering cells of anti-Semitism were fertile fields for a madman's fury. Adolf Hitler proclaimed, "If international Jewry should succeed once more in plunging the peoples into a world war, then the consequences are the destruction of the Jewish race in Europe." Soon, the Führer's message was the same as Rome's 18 centuries earlier.
Wie das deutsche Volk euch lieb gewonnen hat.
Kill the Jews. They are to blame for everything. The final solution left the world speechless. It has no equal in the horrors of humankind. It would make the world more comfortable if the Holocaust was allowed to gradually be forgotten. But it would make Jews even more vulnerable if we ever allowed the world to forget for a moment what happened to us in the 20th century in the modern nation of Germany. Out of these numbing sights came the rebirth of a Jewish homeland. Israel, joyously born, painfully protected. Israel has fought 6 wars in 36 years, and still, Israel is at constant risk. Gaddafi, president of Libya, has warned, "The battle with Israel must be such that after it, Israel will cease to exist." Arafat has threatened that the goal of our struggle is the end of Israel, and there can be no compromise. Assad, president of Syria, says, "Our forces continue to pressure the enemy and will continue to strike at him until we recover the occupied territory, and we then continue until all the land is liberated." And during the 1984 presidential campaign, Louis Farrakhan, leader of the Nation of Islam, said, "The present state called Israel is an outlaw act. She will never have any peace because there can be no peace structured on injustice, thievery, lying, and deceit and using your gutter religion under his holy and righteous name. Farrakhan's anti-Semitic remarks were denounced by many, but there was still applause by some. In 1983, a balding little man was arrested in Bolivia. Klaus Barbie, the butcher of Lyon, was finally being extradited back to France, where he had killed 4,000 persons, mostly Jews, during the war. With Barbie's capture came an apology to the French people from the United States. America had hired Barbie to spy on German communists in 1947, disregarding his murderous role as the executioner of Jews in Lyon.
Have you committed any atrocities? Well, haven't you ever made any mistakes in your life?
Today in Volendam, Paraguay, the most wanted Nazi in the world lives freely. Dr. Joseph Mengele stood at the Auschwitz railhead and made the selection. Jews lived or died by the wave of his swagger stick, and he brutalized Jews with horrifying medical experiments. Questions about Mengele haunt us. Has he come to the United States to visit his brother in New Jersey? Why hasn't the U.S. been able to catch him here or pressure the Paraguayans to arrest him? We should also know why a film entitled Memories of the Camps remains sealed away in Britain. Edited by Alfred Hitchcock and shot by cameramen from various nations, the film is highly critical of the Allies for not stopping the mass murder of Jews earlier in the war. Jewish organizations from around the world are trying to obtain its re-release. On the banks of New York's East River, a dream for maintaining peace has become a nightmare of anti-Semitic diatribes. In 1975, the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution equating Zionism with racism and racial discrimination. If the UN's majority actually ruled the world, Israel would not exist. Closer to home, desecrations of temples are on the increase. Beth Jacob lost its precious stained glass windows. Beth David was scarred with the twisted cross of the Nazis. The reality today is the same as it has been for 4,000 years. Our safety is elusive. We are 14 million in a world of 5 billion. That's not quite 0.3% of the world's population. Yet another reality. Whenever and wherever Jews have prospered, the voices of anti-Semitism rose up against us. Today, our fate lies in two democracies. We must keep Israel strong, and we must keep America both free and sensitive to Jewish concerns. Both are essential to our survival. We must keep the faith. We must care for Jews in danger around the world. Feed those who are hungry. Treat those who are ill. Educate the young. Care for the elderly, both in the land of Abraham and in this land of ours. The shield that protects us from anti-Semitism worldwide will always be fragile. We are and always will be a vulnerable people. Today, there are comfortable Jews among us who think, finally, we have little to fear, safe at last. Yet there is every reason to remain vigilant, to remember the wisdom of George Santayana that those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it.